And hello, everyone. Obviously, you've shown up by accident. You were looking for Game of Thrones and hit the wrong button and ended up here. But hopefully, you'll stay tuned, and we're going to do our very first live test run. Got a lot of bugs to work out. I have no clue what I'm doing on the keyboard here and everything to get it set up, so it's going to be kind of a test session to get through. For those who don't know, we're Vape Distortion. We cover a lot of the, well, right from our Facebook page. We cover international electronic cigarette and e-vaping issues and advocacy. We don't cover herb or cannabis or hookah systems. There are plenty of other groups and sites for that. Nothing wrong with that, but there are other groups for that. We don't do reviews. We don't sell products. And we cover is a lot of the advocacy for e-liquid type vapings. The e-liquid type vapings are the juices, the tanks, and so forth. Now, what we're going to do is on the test run is I'm going to run through, and before anything, let me make sure I've got, hopefully my mic is going. I see a red button. I see muting. Yes! You have no idea how many times I practiced and I forgot to unmute the mic. I'll screw it up again. If the volume's too low, if anyone happens to drop in, just let me know. Now, some of the things we're going to try covering throughout the different episodes, we're hoping to do this weekly. Currently, we're considering probably the Saturday seems to be an open time slot for a lot of people. I know a lot of people are partying and so on, but those like myself without a life, hey, I'm here. Come say hello. I get lonely. But anyhow, we'll be covering a lot of topics. Some of the issues we'll be covering down the road will be taxation, some of the issues of, well, I might try and get a little bit tonight, just some of the issues with the new regulations and how that's affected some of the vape shops. But basically, just for an introduction, what I want to do is just take you quickly through our Facebook group page, which, by the way, everyone's welcome to join. We'll take you through some of the latest news and posts. We try and keep a lot of the articles from basically international. So anything we come across that's really advocacy worthy or that's really, really relative to the vape industry and vape community, we try and keep track of and put up there. And that way it's an easy way for you to keep organized as well. And when you're trying to find your reports and different ads claims and so forth, it gives you a place to go to. And there are a lot of great sites, and we're going to be covering just a couple of them. And we'll try and keep track of the postings, so we'll take a quick look at that. And then we'll take a quick look at the Vape Distortion website. And hopefully, if the stream goes okay, once we check it out and I haven't screwed things up too badly, we'll start making this a regular event. And I will get better at presenting, I promise. So, let's start off. One thing I do want to say, and I'll cover it on the Facebook page in a second. But I have to absolutely give full props to the UK government. And I wish the hell Canada, the US, and even Australia and a lot of the other places could really take a lesson from how the UK government there really promotes pro-vaping issues. Just to give you an idea, this is an event that they have coming up. It's they need volunteers, and what it is, it's for our Stoptober campaign this year. We're organizing 3 evening vaping events across Bristol. They'll be called Vape to Save events, and they'll kick off our switch over to tongue twisters. Switch over to Stopover campaign. The events are aimed at smokers who are nervous about trying vaping and would like to know more about vaping in order to feel confident enough to think about switching over. Now, there's something you don't see in North America. Here, the governments are doing everything they can to limit vaping and so on. There, the UK government is going full gangbusters promoting pro-vaping. And that is one of the most beautiful lines to read. These events are aimed at smokers who are nervous about trying vaping and would like to know more about vaping in order to feel confident enough to think about switching over. Now, if more places would do that, smoking levels would go down incredibly. Now, let's see. So we have the events happening. The first one's going to be in Hartcliffe Community Center. And that's on September 27th, which is, let me just check, that'll be on a Tuesday. The next one will be on the Wednesday, which is the Greenway Center in South Mead. And then on the Thursday, they'll be doing Barden Hills Settlement on that'll be September 29th. What they're looking for are volunteers who, well, during the evening, our local smoke-free teams will be on hand to talk about e-cig, the latest research and guidance, and of course to sign up anyone who would like to take part in their Stopover. They have a lot of stop smoking programs and really pushing it. So here's the contact information. Anybody from the UK in any of those areas, near the Hartcliffe Community Centre, the Greenway Centre in South Mead, and Barden Hills Settlement, please, please, you guys are so fortunate. You have no idea how nice it is to see a government pro-vaping. So if you can spend just a couple of hours, let's see, the Tuesday is 7 to 9, Wednesday is 6 to 8, 5:30 to 7:30 on the Thursday. 2 hours of your time. Volunteer, help out some smokers, get them to switch over. You know how much it's done for your own health and how adamant everybody is on the vaping. And again, props to the UK government. They're doing it. They're really doing it right. As a matter of fact, this is brilliant. This was in a lot of the papers, and it's gone international. It's been posted all over the place in social media in Canada and in the US. This is one of the stop smoking services posted by the UK government. And, well, let's see if I can just zoom in here just a little bit here. Like I said, it's going to take a while to get all this organized, but it's time to switch. If you don't think you'll ever want to stop smoking, think about switching to vaping. Using an e-cigarette is 95% safer than smoking. A government that will actually quote facts. Thank you. Oh, we need that in North America. Because you don't... Oh, let's just go back. Think about switching to vaping. Using an e-cigarette is 95% safer. That's beautiful. Than smoking. Because you don't breathe in any tar or carbon monoxide. Switching completely brings health gains. And then have all the details of the contact, stop smoking service. And again, this is a government-sponsored project, as you can see right there. Again, UK, we're hoping everyone catches up to how you guys have it going there. It may not be perfect there yet, but you're well on your way. So, thumbs up to you. Now that I've gotten that out of the way, let's do a bit of derping. And I'm going to screw this up royally, but see if we can get it switched over. Here we go. So we have our Facebook group page, and in the comments I'll post the link to it. But it's basically facebook.com/groups/vape distortion. Give us a like, jump in, join us. But what I'm going to do is take a quick look at just some of the recent happenings around the area. One of the first ones I'm not going to cover in detail because it's not even worth it. Give you an idea the difference between UK and Canada. In Canada, we get a lot of misinformation, and it's really sad when the Canadian Cancer Society here has a lot of funding support from pharma and big tobacco. So they have a lot to lose if those systems go down. They lose their funding, basically. Yes, they do have outside funding as well, but that's a huge impact to them. So they do tend to push for anti-vaping. As much as they promote, yes, we need to get rid of smoking, they won't go with a harm reduction system that's proven itself to be absolutely amazing, as we all know. Instead, they put out a lot of misinformation. So for those of you who really want to take a look at it, you can. One of the big claims that they keep going on is Health Canada, Health Canada, Health Canada. For those who don't know, everyone, all the media seems to push that, well, Health Canada hasn't approved or authorized these products for sale. It's not even in their goddamn jurisdiction. That's why they can't approve it. But of course, the media continues the hype. I'll let you read that on your own. Here's something. The FDA, let me line that up for you a bit. There's actually nominations for voting members as a public advisory committee for Tobacco Products Scientific Advisory Committee. It would be great if we could actually get some vapors in there, because they actually do include at least one member who is a representative of the general public. So on the Facebook page, take a look at the applications, the requirements, and so forth. Give them a shout. Excuse me. Sorry about that. But yeah, if you know somebody, I mean, can you imagine if we had somebody like Greg Connolly or Dimitris, the Vaping Greek, or like, so many of the advocates around here on a committee like that, how much impact they could actually have in cutting out, or at least curbing, a lot of the misinformation, blocking some of that, and saying, wait a minute, guys, here are some real facts that you're being screwed over about. You're being misled. If we had a serious vapor and advocate on there, that would be huge. So the nominations, if I remember correctly, are coming up very, very shortly. So I think we've got possibly till November. So give it a check out. If you think of anyone, approach them, see if they'll at least apply. Chances are nobody's going to want a vapor in there. That's the last thing they want. But if we get lucky, it can be huge inroad for us. So check it out. Again, it's in the group page of Vape Distortion, so just check it out there. Oh, next thing. Here's what I was going to mention earlier. The FDA have apparently restructured or changed some of the rules again. They go the following publication of the deeming final rule: manufacturers of newly regulated products must now comply with these requirements by February 8th, 2017. Small scale manufacturers have until August 8th, 2017. So what is it? Well, let me do a little switch over here and see if I can get that in there. And no, it's not going to let me display it. There we go. Okay, this was in the Tobacco Reporter, and I'll put the link down below. It's about the FDA issues revised guidance. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration has revised its guidance, health document submission requirements for tobacco products to update current thinking on this topic following the recent publication of its final deeming rule. I call it damning rule or regulations, but they call it the deeming rule. Now, it's interesting that they keep referring to it as the final deeming rule, but they haven't quite figured out what they're doing, what's required, what the actual rules are, and they still haven't figured out how the industry even operates, but they want to assume control. So, when the Tobacco Control Act, TCA, was enacted in 2009, manufacturers of cigarettes, cigarette tobaccos, roll-your-own tobacco, and smokeless tobacco were required to submit all documents to FDA that relate to any health, toxicological, behavioral, or psychological effects of the current or future tobacco products. But FDA used its enforcement discretion to only require documents that were developed between June 23rd, 2009 and December 31st, 2009. The FDA said, okay, first of all, we weren't really involved then, but that was their limitation for those dates. Somebody can check on deeming regulations, see if that's changed. But to continue, following the publication of the deeming final rule, manufacturers of newly regulated products, that's us, must now also comply with these requirements by February 8th. So, again, I'm not a lawyer. Lawyers can check, but somebody might want to check if the documents required are the same ones for between June 23rd and December 9th. Because according to that, that's where all their documents and effects must be reported from. So something doesn't make sure. Doesn't make sense here. Anyhow, they must comply by February 8th, 2017. Small-scale manufacturers have until August 8th, 2017, and are afforded the same enforcement discretion as they relate to the current and future finished tobacco products. So they're talking about finished tobacco products, which, even though we aren't tobacco, they've classified us as. So, yeah, somebody definitely better check, because here it says that the documents and reports must be from that limited period. Don't know if that continues to apply. It's a lot of mess trying to figure out what they're doing, because even the FDA can't figure out what they're doing. In addition to further explaining these documents, they've never explained them to begin with. They don't know how to explain them. And FDA's enforcements of these requirements, the revised guidance explains, among other things, statutory requirements to submit health documents. That's going to be the big one. So far, nobody has a clue, including the FDA, what's actually required. And we already know it's not going to get through in any PMTA, but at least, hopefully, they're starting to put what documents are actually even needed. They've got their definitions, so it looks like they may have changed some of that, or they're re-explaining. So, in other words, any loopholes they found, they'll probably reinterpret whatever goes their way. Who should submit health documents, the FDA compliance policies, what information to include, and I imagine that's going to change a lot, ongoing, even after everything's been submitted. They'll say, oh, we've changed it. How and when to make submissions. Failure or refusal to comply with these requirements could result in a tobacco product being misbranded and subject to regulatory and enforcement action, including seizure and injunction. And they have their full guidance for the link on the page. And by the way, I will have this page in there. And as you can see, there is a hell of a lot of new material that everybody is going to have to try and figure out. And don't forget, this has to kind of be merged into the actual deeming regulations. So you have to figure out where everything goes. I mean, they've made it so convoluted. It's obvious they basically need it shut down. And there is a good reason they need it shut down, which I will get to in a little bit further down in one of our Facebook posts. Something that will probably explain a lot very quickly. Anyhow, as you can see, there are a lot of regulations to go through. So I didn't bother putting the link there, but you can find it right at the bottom of the tobacco report, and that link will be in the follow-up. So let's get back to the Facebook. And like I said, I'm not going to go through every post, but there are a few that I do want to go through. Got some stuff from Ireland. Now, for those who don't know, Dimitris, the vaping Greek, he just got back from China last week. He and Sevilla USA, they went to China and met with all the main manufacturers there, trying to raise more funding to help fight the legal battles against the FDA. So he'll be covering more of that in probably one of his next episodes. But when he returned this past Tuesday, he had in his guests, and they talked about the Cole Bishop. And there are a lot of discussions about the Cole Bishop versus HR 2058, whatever it is again. there's so much confusion over the Cole Bishop, and vapors just don't seem to understand why it's so important. It's not the end all to be all, it's not the final goal of everything. But if it doesn't get passed, and it is the only one that even has a chance of passing right now, if it doesn't pass, and the grandfather clause, thank you, can't get passed or changed, basically the industry in the U.S. is screwed. That's bad for us in Canada too, because guess what? The Canadian government has been following suit of everything that the FDA does. So every time you guys get screwed there, even on the local level with the states, like the Pennsylvania, the 40% floor tax. I mean, so many shops are closing because of that. They thought that they're going to have all this free money for taxes. They're shutting down so many of the businesses, forcing them out. You can't operate a business when the immediate tax is more than your profit margin. You can't keep operating at a loss, and they just don't get it. Now, there is good news that there are proposals and Senate offerings coming up that will hopefully have some effect there. But they're in dire strait. Indiana has it even harder. I mean, well, at least now they have 7 companies that can sell there, and one being Good Cat, which is manufacturer or the rebottler for a lot of companies. So otherwise you would have been down to 6 brands. But there are so many investigations, and of course a lot of very suspicious stuff, especially when you have the political figures who have voted to put forward and give the security company the monopoly, and now suddenly they are going to be working for the security company as an employee. Yeah, and they say, yeah, nothing wrong with that. Right. Anyhow, getting back to the Dimitris on Smoke Free Radio, definitely check out the replay for the Cole Bishop, and it's pretty much explained, and it'll show you why it's so urgent that that gets passed. So that's one of the things. Pfizer, amazing. We get cut off, but Chantix, you've probably heard a lot of the stories about the suicides and the rampant nightmares that it's been creating. They get to remove the danger notification from their stop smoking products. But of course, vapors have to put in, this product contains tobacco, even if it's a no-nic product. Yeah, right. Another, this is a must listen to for every juice manufacturer and vape shop. Not a Vaping Sheep did a stream last night. It was awesome. It was absolutely awesome. It's all about the labeling, the marketing, the mismarketing, and would a lot of vapor. Yes, it might sound cute if you can mimic or copy the cereals. You're not only doing IP infringements and up for possible lawsuits, and a lot of companies figure, nobody will spot us, nobody will care. It is really going to screw up the industry more than you realize. And especially all these little cutesy things like, let's try and mimic the actual candy. We aren't manufacturing or marketing to kids. Yes, adults love the candy too, myself especially. I adore my candy. I refuse to buy any juice that uses an IP infringement, pretends there's somebody else, and especially the ones that mimic candy. I absolutely refuse, and I've told the shops that I will spread and tell people, don't shop there if you support those kind of shops. The reason being, listen to the show. But basically, little stupid moves like that, well, it might be great for your little quick buck, and you think you've got little loopholes going or shortcuts, and hey, great marketing, everyone's going to want it. All these lawsuits for the FDA and so on, guess what? They're paying very close attention to all those infringements. And they're keeping notes. And you can damn well be sure that they're going to be hitting legislation and saying, not marketing kids? Bullshit. Check out this juice, this juice, this juice. Look at all these copyright infringements that they don't even bother with. They will try and make the industry look as amateur as possible. Absolutely, absolutely. Listen and watch. Listen to the show. It is great. I have to compliment Amy. I mean, brilliant show. It was a great episode. It is a must listen to. I won't go through too much more. Let's see what we got here. We've got the myth busting for diacetyl and so forth. Oh yeah, here's the Indiana lawmaker who voted 2 years in a row for legislation to put one private company in control of who would manufacture e-liquid for sale in Indiana. And they're now going to be working for that security company. Yeah, it must be nice that they can just say, yeah, we got you your contract, so hire me. Yeah, no conflict of interest there, is there? Now, here's the last one I want to grab just for now. And I've messed it up. Here it is. Okay, there's an article that was absolutely fantastic. It's a long report. Just to raise it up a little bit here. Now, it talks about it proves that the prevalence of the e-cigarettes in England, they don't appear to have been associated with a detectable change in attempts to stop smoking. So, in other words, they aren't necessarily directly encouraging people to stop smoking compared to like the normal quit smoking methods. It hasn't increased that. But what they have noticed is, however, the increase in e-cigarette use has been associated with an increase in success of quit attempts. That is critical because the government keeps saying that, oh, well, we have no information or no proof that any of this stuff even helps people quit. They have presumes that it might, but we have no proof that it. You've got figures. And the thing is, the UK has been tracking for years. I remember some of their past figures. I think 2014 was just over the 70%. I think it hit about 80% at one point in 2015. And technology has improved since then. Anyhow, here is a very, very detailed study. But what I really want you to see, and if I can find my little spot on here, I'm going to bring it up full screen. And there we go. And let me just see if I can switch over to... I can't do it. Oh, this is going to drive me crazy. There we go. Okay, it's a little bit better. Here's what I wanted to show you, and I'll see if I can expand it just a little bit more. And like I said, you have to bear with me. It's the first episode, so it's going to take me a while to figure out where I've even got my damn keys. And do I have my mic on? Okay, the little thing's going, and I have... Sorry, I have to keep checking because, like I said, I screwed up so many times in practice. Anyhow, what I want to show is... Here is one of the charts in here. And... although they don't really discuss it, there's something very interesting. Here are, for instance, in this first one, A, here are prescription treatments. So that's things like your Chantix and so forth. I'm not sure what else they use in the UK, but if you notice, they were climbing and climbing, so the use went up quite heavily. But then suddenly it had a huge drop. Well, if you notice, the brown line here is e-cigarette uses. So naturally, there wasn't much around. It started being introduced. You start seeing a little blip. Then suddenly becomes widely popular. Look at how their usage drops as vaping took over. And don't forget, the UK has said that the vaping has actually had better success. But that absolutely made them plummet. They went from the highs. I mean, that's almost, you're dropping down close to about half. So that's going to be of concern to pharma. Go to the next one in prevalence. This is the nicotine replacement treatments, so the NRTs over the counter. So that'll be things like your gums and your patches and so on. If you notice, they were doing quite well. A slow decline, but nothing really major until, again, we come in with these cigarettes. Suddenly they're going, and they start dropping down. Becomes prevalent. Look how fast they start plummeting. You go from the highs down to less than half. So as e-cigarette increased, you're almost having gums, patches, and so forth. You don't think Big Pharma is concerned? Go another one. You have the NRTs on prescriptions. Okay, again, fairly steady, fairly steady, fairly steady, fairly steady. E-cigarettes are introduced. Not too much of a blip, but once the peak hits here, suddenly they drop down, and instead of bouncing back up like usual, e-cigarettes take off, they plummet. Their sales start flatlining about half again. One more, the stop smoking services. Now, here the UK has some great stop smoking services, as we covered with that Vape to Save event. If you notice, fairly steady beats of stop smoking services, so nice and steady. E-cigarettes came in, and suddenly when they took off, your steady peaks up here suddenly dropped, and dropped. As the e-cigarettes improved their technology and became more efficient and drew more people. Now that's actually a good thing in this case. The others with the pharma, they won't be happy. They're losing sales. These stop smoking services, though, it means if they're dropping down, fewer people are having to use them because the vaping has been effective. And that's one of the reasons why they're encouraging it now. So, again, it really has a lot of effect, and I hope more countries will take notice and follow through. So anyhow, that's about all I'm going to cover for the Facebook. I'm not going to go through every post, but join our Facebook group. Drop in, say hello, take a look what's going on, and see if there's something that catches your attention. And you never know, might just be something worthwhile for you. So from there, what I'm going to do is, actually, let me go back here. Beginners. I am such a beginner. Anyhow, let's do a little switch over here. Okay, so I told you that Vape Distortion, we have our website. It's vapedistortion.com, and there we go. And again, the link will be down below. But we'll try and put in the videos. And like I said, we're hoping that each week, right now we're thinking Saturdays, because that seems to be manageable. We might even start doing, if it picks up well enough, we might do some Wednesday afternoon midweek news catch-ups. That way we don't have to use up all the time at the beginning of a show, and we can go right into topics and subjects. But just give you an idea of the site. We try and cover some of the latest news. This is a section which is currently being built, and what it is ongoing articles. For instance, there's an entire section on dealing with the ants. And this is where you find a lot of the misinformation and so forth. How they're doing it, why they're doing it, tactics they use, things to watch for. Brilliant film to watch is Merchants of Doubt. If you haven't seen it, might still be on Netflix. It might be at, it'll be somewhere. Find it, Merchants of Doubt, watch it. It covers a lot of the tobacco playbook, and you'll find people like the FDA use the playbook perfectly. But anyhow, In this section, for the We Don't Smoke, this March of the Ants section right now, are different categories dealing with ants and how to recognize them, how to kind of deflect a lot of their BS. So, little information there. In the advocacy section, we're going to try and a lot of these are just beginning sections, so we're going to be expanding them and adding in more and more. We'll try and categorize them, but we'll try and break down into studies and reports. We'll be covering things like the rallies and so forth, FDA, all kinds of subjects, and we'll try and break them down further into different areas that might interest people, like the medical studies, the youth marketing, smoking gateway. That actually I will be covering in an upcoming live show, hopefully within the next week or two. That one's going to be pretty big because we've really got to stop putting up with we have to protect the youth. It's time to stop their bullshit and start hitting back. So we're going to start covering some of that. Let's start throwing it right back at them. So that'll be hopefully in about a week or two. I'll keep you posted on the Facebook once we get going. And we'll also keep track of misleading researches and reports and so forth. And as this section expands, I'll add more and more in there. We also have the media streams where we have political and legislative dealings. Don't know if I have it in here. Yeah, I've only got the local right now, the Bill 14. We were actually lucky. Our NDP party, which is one of the political parties here, they realized that the government was trying to pull something fast with Bill 14, which was basically the same type of thing as the FDA. Now, they didn't have the numbers to stop it, but as far as I know, this was one of the first times when any political party went on record and very, very specifically tried getting an amendment put forward to very directly and specifically protect professional vape shops. That's not the convenience stores, not the gas stations, not the department stores, but the shops that deal strictly with e-liquid vaping products, and that's all they deal with. They actually try to get protection, so they didn't have the numbers, unfortunately, but I've narrowed down the clip there. It's really worth listening to because their arguments were damn good. They were ignored, but they were damn good. The age, I'll make this really quick. The age, they explained, well, you have, for instance, in the FDA deeming regulations, or Bill 14 in this case, that, the vape shops aren't allowed to sell to kids. They aren't even allowed to have them in there. Therefore, you can't keep using the youth are seeing all the stuff in the vape shops if they aren't even allowed in there. Same as there in BC now, there's no vaping in the shops by the owners, the staff, or anybody else, although luckily, thanks to the NDP, they push for it, and at least we can have two people testing products at once, so it doesn't completely block the vape shops from helping smokers. 'Cause you have to teach a smoker, have them try flavor, see what you can do to help them. So at least it's not completely blocked. But other than that, our local vape shop, Chris from North Island Vapors, awesome guy. He's kept me going for years. He's kept me away from the stinkies, kept me on the vaping. He was actually commenting that now when they want to take a smoker and show them what the products are, they actually have to take the products out of the store, go behind the building to the dirt parking lot, back of the building, 20 feet away, and that's the only place where they can even have them try the flavors or try the device or teach them how to use it. And the crazy part is, until the regulations came out, the students and kids really didn't have much notice of his shop even being there. Because for years, they've had a no minors will be served policy. And they're very strict on enforcing it, checking ID. And this was years before it was even required. As a matter of fact, they were glad when that part of the regulations came out, because technically they were banning kids, even though it was technically legal for them to get the product. So they were glad to have that part. But now that they have to go outside and you have all the vapors who can't vape in a shop anymore, they have to gather behind the building, 20 feet away from the building in a dirt parking lot, vaping. And those plumes can be seen now by the high schools. The kids, when they're walking by on school, they've got these vapors outside in the only area they're allowed to vape. They can't vape in the shop anymore. They all have to go outside. So now, instead of decreasing the visibility, the regulations have completely increased vaping visibility to some of the youth. And like I said, part that really pisses Chris off is he doesn't want minors anywhere around, and he's always trying to block them. So I digress, but watch that clip on the politics if you want. Anyhow, there's more information. There's some great videos for beginning vapors as well on changing things that'll happen. And so that's a little bit about the site. It's new. It'll be expanding a lot further. There's so much more that needs to be done, but it can only be done in step by step. So I'm hoping you'll check it out. If you get a chance, be great. Anyhow, I'm not going to keep this too much longer. We've already been going way too long. But yeah, this bit of an introduction now that the show is going to be going live. We will be covering different topics. Like I said, one of the topics we'll be covering either next week or the following the week after will be youth and the whole gateway bullshit. Hopefully we'll be able to come across with some information that you'll be able to use. I mean, one of the simplest ways, and I'm going to bring this back up when we actually do the show, but I've just had an absolutely awesome banana cream pie. Oh man, that tastes so good. You know what? It tastes so good, I can't wait to lick a dirty ashtray. And that's basically what a gateway is. They're saying that because you have flavors, you're going to get people vaping. And because of the vaping, by the way, my preference is no nick. I have a couple with nicks, strictly because they didn't have no nick, but that's still a tobacco product. In the US, they have to say it contains tobacco, even though it doesn't. I mean, they're making people lie. But basically, they're saying that you vape, it's going to lead to cigarettes. Well, you go from a great tasting flavor. Last thing you want is to go to that grunge, gut-wrenching taste. And yeah, when we were smokers, we thought, hey, these cigarettes taste great. You switch to vaping, and you even go back a few months later and try one puff, and it's a case of like, oh my God, how do we even tolerate it? So yeah, gateways make no sense. So that'll be a future topic. Another one, and this one I might possibly cover next week. Cover both for Canada, the US, and even elsewhere. Cover Australia, and hopefully might even be able to cover a bit of the UK. How regulations actually affect the shops, how they hinder them, how they help them, what works, what doesn't work, and things that can even force a shop out of business. Is it really protecting public health as much as a lot of the politicians say or think? Some of it's not on purpose. Some of them honestly believe they're doing good with the vaping. So we'll try and cover issues like that. Taxation. Don't know how it is in the UK, don't know how it is in Australia. Australia, no, you can't have any nic. You can only have e-liquids without nic. In Canada, you can have both. In the US, you can have both. But they've already started in Canada and in the US, in individual states and provinces, saying, well, you're a tobacco product now, so we can charge you tobacco product tax rates. And there's, like I said, Pennsylvania, perfect example. We'll take a look at something like that as soon as we get a chance. And we have a lot of other topics. If you have any topics that you're really interested in for advocacy issues, drop a message, visit our Facebook group / Vape Distortion, drop us an email. Visit the vapedistortion.com, the website, send us an email, and we'll see what we can do. And like I said, I promise you, my presentations will get better. And one of these days, I'll figure out all these buttons, and the last thing I got to check is make sure I didn't mute anything. My biggest nightmare is I've done all this talking, and everything was muted. Don't laugh. That first video I did that was 2 hours long, I had a muted mic the entire time. I had to redo it. Ah! You think it was bad sitting through 2 hours of me talking? You should have seen me with a hoarse voice afterwards. Anyhow, catch you next time. Please hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and try doing the live shows every week, and they will get better. See you soon.